So we are talking about senior move stories. And before we get rolling on that, let's just kind of review this graphic that you may have seen in the past. There are lots of types of senior living that's available to us. And here's what I want you to know. If you've not really done much investigation yet, you're kind of thinking about it, but you're not sure. You remember when your grandma went or your grandpa went to senior living. Here's what I have to tell you. Senior living is totally different these days. So much different than what it was 10 years ago. There are different types of needs that the boomers, for example, are coming with, amenities that they want to have in their home, how the floor plan's set up, etc. So if you haven't taken an opportunity to do some research, you might want to do that. But let me give you a breakdown. So we have the blue bar here that says aging in place. What is that? Garden homes, condos, townhomes, or active 55, active adult. So what's an active adult? We're all active adults, right? Active adult is a senior apartment. That's really what it is. A senior apartment. You're cooking your own meals, you're paying your own utilities, but it's age restricted. They're catering to people that are 55 and older. Well, can my grandkids come and live there with me for a couple of weeks, but not forever? Because it's age restricted. That would be a senior apartment, active 55. Overture is an active 55 apartment. Then you go here to independent living. So that changes a little bit. Now we're looking at meals. We get breakfast, we get lunch, maybe dinner, or the one or the other. We have housekeeping that's built into our rent each month because these are all rentals. We have security. Big deal. When my mother-in-law moved to independent living, it was so great because we never had to worry that she was going to be alone and someone coming to her door that didn't belong there. Security is important. Most all of these communities have some type of security, whether it's a gate that closes or the doors lock at a certain time and you have to have a key fob to get in. We have assisted living. So this is a little bit different. Now I need help with bathing, with dressing, with medication. I'm still pretty good, but those things are really hard for me. So assisted living is going to be something that you might be looking at, or if you have a loved one that maybe needs that. When that happens, now you have 3 meals a day, so you don't have a full kitchen like you might have in independent living. Most people that move to independent living aren't really cooking much, unless they want to have the family over for a meal in the afternoon and have it in their own apartment, but you can always reserve the dining room for that. But when you have assisted living, you've got 3 meals a day, so you don't need to have an oven in your apartment. You have a refrigerator and a microwave, and you can still get along with those things, but you have other amenities that go with that, and you pay for that in your rent. Memory care. Well, most of us know that in every way, because when we're driving on the highway, how often are we seeing silver alerts? Oh my goodness. We're seeing silver alerts all the time. There's different things that are going on for people in our lives right now where memory care is so upfront, so much more upfront than it has been in the past. It's probably been around for a long time, but we were not as aware of it as we are now. So memory care, again, is a type of care, but at that point, it's more secure. Those individuals that are living in memory care have an apartment as well, all kinds of activities that take place during the day, but they're in a more secure environment so that they don't leave that location in their building, for example, and forget how to get back. And then we have skilled nursing. Skilled nursing would be, here's an example. Maybe you are looking at a hip replacement in the future, and you need a place to go and rehab because you're not going to be able to go home right away. Well, a skilled nursing or assisted living is one of those places that can do that, right, Carrie?
Yes.
Then we have the gold bar, life care or continuing care retirement community. And when you're looking at that type of living, you have everything in one place. One of the things that I really like about this that I think is important is that as you make changes in your life and you move forward to a different style of living, first of all, you're probably not going to know anybody, or maybe you have a neighbor or a friend from school that's going there, that lives there. But you're meeting a lot of people, and as time goes on, and your healthcare needs change, you may be moving from the first floor to the fourth floor or to building number 2, but you're on the same campus with everybody. So you can still have lunch with your friends. They can come over and have lunch with you, dinner with you, vice versa. But you have it all together in one place. That's continuing care. So everything is in one place. And there's lots of different options that go with that, and we'll discuss those on a different day. But you have people here from both styles that you can discuss with. Okay, so let's look at the purpose of our seminar today. We're actually going to get into the 5 stages of readiness. And as we talk about this, I really want you to be sitting here thinking, how does that apply to me? Where do I fit in the 5 stages of readiness? Am I in the denial stage? Am I in the thinking stage? Or the planning stage? Maybe I'm in the action stage, or maybe I've done all of that and I'm in the resolution stage. Let's go through that before we come to our guests. So the very first one, denial. Thinking about this, I'm never moving. You'll carry me out of here in a pine box. How many of us have heard that? My mom said that all the time. I am never going anywhere. And that was exactly how it worked out for her. She was not going. I'm just not ready to move. That's okay. Sometimes we're just not ready yet. But keep this in mind. If this is you, your health is going to be important. Your finances are going to be important. And just in case either one of those things changes, what's your plan B? We always got to have a plan B, right? Thinking. I'm thinking about it. The house is too big. The kids are gone. Oh gosh, they said I have to have my HVAC, my air conditioner, serviced. How much is that going to cost? I have a 2-story house and I'm heating and cooling both floors because I only have 1 unit outside. I can't turn that one off up there by myself. I guess I could close the vents, something like that. It would be nice to have someone to share meals with. Since my husband's gone, I'm eating alone all the time, and you know it's no fun to cook for one. Sure be nice if I could do that and not have to drive everywhere that I wanted to go do that. My friends have moved and they seem so happy. Gosh, it's really hard to get time with them because they've got such a busy schedule with all the activities that they're doing now. I should look at that. Planning. Planning is going to be a really important part of that. Consultation with a realtor. If there's a real estate transaction in your life going forward and you're planning, you may be thinking, I wonder what's going on in the real estate market. I wonder what my house would sell for. Maybe I'll just sell it as is. Those are the things that you find out from professionals like myself and John. What's that going to be for me? Find out what the home values are. Assess what repairs need to be made. If I want more money for my house, how much money do I need to put into it, and will I get all that back? That's important. Researching and touring communities. I can't tell you how important that is. You're healthy, you're feeling good, be curious. Senior living is so different right now. You owe it to yourself to at least talk to somebody else and say, hey, I went there. I learned about what they have over there. We have written a book, a lot of you know that, The Ultimate Guide to Downsizing. And we did this as a workbook with you in mind, so as you're doing your planning, you have something that gives you some steps on what do I do next. There's worksheets in here that allow you to make comparisons. I'm going to look at this community today. I want to go to that one tomorrow. What's the difference in the apartments? What's the difference in the rent that they charge? What do I get for that? So there's worksheets in here for that to help you. That'll be one of our drawing items today. Action, implementation, signing a contract. I'm ready to go. I figured out where I want to go. I have put a deposit down on my new place. It's just a matter of time before I get my house sold, and then I can make a move. Or for some of you, that doesn't have to happen at all. I'm ready to go. Who's going to help me do it? Telling the kids what's happening. That's pretty important. How involved are your children in your decisions? For a lot of you, it's a big deal. You want them to say, I love where you're moving, or hey mom, that's going to be great for you. I'm so happy. And we'll talk about that today. Or are they saying, no, you can't do that. You're staying there and this is what we're going to do about that. So it's important to have that conversation. Going through your belongings and sharing with your family, that's a pretty big deal. Think about it. If you've been in your home 20, 30, 40 years, you got a lot of stuff, right? Do they want it? No. So what am I going to do with that? Who's going to help me? And then we get to resolution. So we've gone through all these different steps to make that decision. And now we get to the place where we are moved into our new place and we're saying, oh, did I make the right decision? What do I do next? Now that I don't have to worry about who's going to mow the lawn. I got to replace the air conditioner. Oh shoot, that roof's got to be replaced. What am I going to do next? I think I'm really going to like it here. I've made so many friends I didn't think I would want to. But now I've made friends that I enjoy going to things with. This was a great idea, right? And here's the last one that we hear all the time. I should have done it sooner. So what I want to leave you with that should have done it sooner, if I could have, would have, should have, there's actually a song about that. Lou Rawls is one of my favorite singers, dating myself here. What you want to make sure of is that you have all those choices. Not that you're in a place where if I could have, should have, I would have went here, but now things have changed for me and I have to go here. I don't have that gap. Keep that in mind. So let's talk to our experts. What I'd like to do first is I would like to have our experts, we'll just go right down the line. Here's what we'd like to do. If you have any problems at all hearing us today, I would like for you to let us know that we need to speak louder. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Not everybody talks loud like that. But I want my experts here to feel comfortable in sharing their information with you. So I'm going to start over here with Jane. Jane East, tell us a little bit about what you've done in the past, a little bit about your history. Share that with our audience. Your moving history. Where did you live before? How long have you lived there? What type of community did you move to?
I think you can probably hear me. I was a third grade teacher, so I'll use my teacher voice. But if you don't, let me know. I lived in Grand Prairie for 45 years in that house when my husband retired from the Marine Corps. And he passed away 14 years ago. So I have been living independently at home, taking care of things. My girls don't, I have two girls who don't live real close. One's in New Braunfels and one's in Louisville, but they have children in school still, so they're always active with their family. And but I have a wonderful community of friends from living in 45 years where I was. A group in Arlington, my teacher retired group, and so forth. So when after my husband passed, I was able to take care of everything, but then I had a fall. And all of a sudden, I knew my children were probably starting to think about it's time for mom not to be doing all this on her own. But I had a fall, and then I was having to hire a little neighborhood friend to go over the curb to get my mail and to take my trash down the alley. And I thought, okay, I need to get serious and think about it's time for me to do things. So I brought it up with my girls and said, if you all been talking about this, saying how are we going to talk to mom, mom's talking to you. Mom has decided it's time for me to get serious about making a change. And one of the reasons I wanted to do that was because I wanted to make the choice. I didn't want to get to the situation where I'd been in the hospital and the kids have to find a place for me because I can't be home anymore. I wanted to be the one that chose where I went and what I did with my things.
Okay.
And so that's what I did. I did it for myself and for my kids.
That's very good.
So that's what I did.
Thank you. Thank you. How about you, Doris?
Okay.
Tell us a little about yourself.
Okay. I lived in Duncanville for about 15 years before after my husband retired. We moved to Florida for approximately 10 years. He'd had a stroke, and the cold weather and the heat kind of bothered him, so he decided he wanted to be in Florida so he could do a lot of fishing. And consequently, when we moved back to Texas a few years later, his health started failing, and he passed away in December of 2010. And after he passed, my friends kept saying, don't make any major decisions for at least a year before you decide what you want to do with your house and so forth. So with this lady's help, after about 3 years, I decided I was tired of hiring people to do the lawn and to wash the windows and do all these kinds of things. And I just wanted to be free. So I made the choice to move to Watercress. I lived there for a year. Beautiful place, but I had never lived in an apartment, and I found it kind of confining. So after about 9 months, I called her and I said, find me a house. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, I've had the apartment living, now I want to be back in my house so I have a yard where I can have my flowers and so forth. So she did, and I wound up in Arlington on Audie in a new development.
Brand new build.
Yes. Lived there for 27 months, but the neighborhood was, everybody worked. And I was the only person in the whole community all day long. And I thought, I can't stand this. So she and I were talking, and she said, you know, there's a new development going in Mansfield. She said, you might want to take a look at it. And she said, do you go to Mansfield? And I said, oh yeah, I go once a week. And passed by on my way to church. And I wanted to stay close to the church. So I went to take a look at this place that she was telling me about and loved it. Bought a lot that day. And they said it probably about 8 months before the house would be ready to move into. And I made the move. And of course, people kept saying, why do you move so much? And I said, well, my husband through the years moved us all over the country. So I said, I'm used to it, it's no big deal to me. And they said, well, it's a big deal to me. And I said, yeah, I know what you mean. But with her help, and she did, she arranged for me to have contact with packers and movers and all this stuff. She's just so helpful.
We went to that community together. It was just dirt at the time. I mean, I just wanted her to drive by there and see what she thought. I was shocked when she called me an hour later and said, guess what? I bought one. So we went through that dirt together, the design center together, all of that together while we were working on figuring out how to get rid of the other new build that she's had. But it's been an adventure, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love it.
How about you, Scott?
Well, I've lived in apartments for the majority of my adult life. I'm a bachelor, I haven't been married, so I'm used to living in apartments, but this little thing called a pandemic came along a few years ago, and I had just turned 65, and I was working, my background is more or less in special event production. I worked conventions and corporate events, and my most recent job was, I graduated from Texas Wesleyan University here in town. And I was their special events manager. And during the pandemic, when no one could get together and everything came to a screeching halt, they did some realignment and they didn't need me anymore. And I just turned 65, so I decided to go ahead and retire. But it seemed like the older I got, the younger my neighbors became in the apartments I was living in. So here I was, 65, retired, surrounded by a bunch of 30-somethings. And one day I was coming home and I saw a sign up that said, Overture River District, 55 plus adult, active adult community, and it had an arrow. So I wrote down the number and I called, and the girl that answered the phone said, oh, you're my first inquiry. At the time, it was a vacant lot, okay? It was an empty lot. They had, I think they barely even broken ground. And she gave me a tour on her phone of their community in Keller. And it just so happened that while she was giving me the tour, there was a lot of activities going on, so I got to see it in action. So I signed up to move in, and it's probably the best thing I've done, especially at my age. And we're all very good friends. We all get, well, there are a few bad seeds, but for the most part, we all get along very well. Some of my friends call it a dormitory for old people.
Oh, wow, okay.
So, but it was a great move for me, and I'm very happy.
Very pretty place.
Yeah.
Really
it's
is.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, love it. Backs up to the Trinity, just really nice there. How about you, Betty?
I've lived in Fort Worth since 1980, and we had 3 different houses in the southwest part of Fort Worth, and my husband died about 12 years ago, and I was in a house of about 2,000 square feet, and when they started talking about Stevenson Oaks, it was in my neighborhood. I mean, I can almost see where my house was from some of the windows in Stevenson Oaks. And so I thought, if I'm ever going to do this, this is the place for me to go because it's right in my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And so I put down a deposit 41 months before I moved in, and I'm very glad that I did.
Well, I think you were part of the ambassador group, weren't you?
Well, I mean, I was one of the
starters. Yeah, the starter people.
Exactly. Yeah, I was one of the starters.
Super exciting. They have a lot of different luncheons and planning and
right, exactly. That's how I met Ingrid, was through the seminars that she did for the people that were had made deposits and the services that they had for us.
So you're still there.
I'm still there.
Scott, you're still there. Doris, you're still there. Jane, you're still there. Okay.
But I do have a friend that keeps asking me, when do you plan to move again?
Not to call me.
Since you left to move.
I need you to stay put for a while. Okay, well, let's go to our next one. So our next question, now where these questions come from is that we've done this seminar a few different times with a different twist each time, but we put together 10 questions that are usually the most common questions that we're curious about and others are as well. And then we share that with them and give them some homework to kind of work on. So this next question is, what was your biggest fear or concern about making a move? And Scott, that's you. I'm going to start with you first.
Well, I'm kind of an unusual example for that, but my main concern was the place wasn't built yet, okay? I didn't know what I was going to end up getting. I was having to rely on art renderings and what people were telling me about it, but I watched it be built. I paid a deposit and signed up to move in April of 2021, and it didn't open until July of 2022. Oh. So I got to wait that long to see the final product. But it was kind of concerning that I had kind of paid a deposit and planned to move into something that I hadn't seen yet.
Yeah, it was the new you.
Yeah.
After COVID, right?
Yeah,
a lot of us are new yous, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Who do I have next? Jane. What's your biggest fear?
Concern, since my girls aren't close by and have children in all different grade levels and so forth, I wanted to be near where my support group of friends and my activities are after 50 years there. And my thought was, how in the world can I make this move by myself? And then I found Ingrid, and she was able to have people that she could recommend for all the different things I needed to have done. Because I did it all by myself, the whole move part. I mean, I would tell my girls what was going on, but it was still all on my shoulder, and that was my biggest fear of how do I do this. But I will say that your book that you just mentioned, her the worksheets and stuff where you can check each time you investigate a place. And see, I had the time to do that, which is what was a good thing in my life, was that I had time to investigate these different places, and I ended up going to 9 different places But I would check off the things using those worksheets were very, very helpful, and then you could prioritize what this one had that was the best thing about this place, or what was best about this.
And I think it was actually over, for, at least when I was involved, pretty much of a 6-month project.
Yes, it
Because
was.
you were trying to decide between 2 cities. Do I want to stay in Arlington, which is where a lot of your friends were, or do I want to go to Mansfield, where I have some friends, but more in Arlington, right?
Right, and so, but if, having that worksheet helped me a lot, just being able to mark down, you know, what was better at one place, because all of them have pluses and minuses. And can I say one thing here that maybe is not right at your schedule time? When you go to take a tour of these places, they are marketing people that give you that tour. They are wonderful people. They are good at what they do. It's like a used car salesman. I'm being honest. So when you see a place that seems to be a place you're really thinking about, go again when they don't know you're coming ahead of time. When you're watching the residents communicating with each other or sharing things and stuff, and get the feel of that time when they didn't just know that you were there for a sale.
Yeah.
And that really helps you out.
Well, the other thing that I try to recommend when I can is when you have an opportunity to make an appointment to go and visit a retirement community, you might want to ask them if they offer a staycation. Because a staycation is typically, you're going to go to a social event, you're going to spend the night in one of their model apartments, have a meal there, and wake up the next day so you can feel like, what's it like here in the morning? Is everybody in their apartments, nobody's out here? Are they all gathering together? You're going to see if it's going to fit your personality, and I think that's really important. And we see that a lot more now as a staycation. If they don't have a staycation, in a lot of cases, it's because they're full up. They have just very limited ability with the apartments that they have. But you do want to ask those questions for those things. I'm going to move on to a different question. So Betty, I kind of answered this question for you already, but this one is, how long did you consider making a move before you actually did it? So we talked about that for you. It was about 6 months. Jane. But for Betty, talk to us about that.
Well, of course, I really wasn't thinking about moving until I started looking at Stevenson Oaks, and then it was 4.5 years between, or over 5 years between the time, I guess it was 4 years, between the time I was really thinking about it and actually made the move, because there were COVID and everything else happened in the meantime, which delayed everything,
Okay. How about Scott? We talked about your biggest fears. What are some of the key factors that were involved in you making that decision?
Well, like I said earlier, the older I got, the younger my neighbors seemed to become in my traditional apartment complex. So the most encouraging thing to me was be around people in my own age range, and have similar interests, and the activities that they talked about doing that would be something that everyone could participate in. And as a result, we're all very good friends. We all know each other, and we all very good friends. Whereas in my traditional apartment complex, I was the invisible man because I was probably one of the oldest who lived there. But here, where I live now, it's good morning, good afternoon, hello, let's go get a drink, let's do this, so there's always something to do with the group of friends that are actually your neighbors.
Yeah, I have a past client that just moved there probably 3-4 months ago. Her husband passed, she moved from Arlington. Her family is not in Texas, one's in California, the other one's in Virginia. And she made a comment to me during this process that we were working on her home, that she wants to be more social. That's why she's moving. She wants to have more relationships. And she's a big baseball fan. And she told me when she came to see me one afternoon, she said, you know what? She said, I got together with some of the men in our building. They love baseball. I love baseball. And I went down and we watched that game together. I had such a good time. It reminded me of doing that with my family. And then she mentioned it to me another time. She says, you know what? I went back and I watched another game with them, and I took a beer with me. So she really felt like, she felt like you said, she belonged, everybody is so welcoming. And what's important to keep in mind, not everybody is interested in having all the friendships. Some people are just not like that. But the good thing is that there's lots and lots of options for you to choose to or not. You never have to worry about. My dad was like that. My dad was perfectly happy with the crock pot, the newspaper, and he lived in Kansas City. He loved his, as he would say, his chiefs. He didn't want to play bunco, he didn't want to play cards, just want to have that. He didn't want to be with anybody else. But not everybody's like that. So keep that in mind when you're thinking, oh wow, they're talking about what an active community. It's great there's things going on for you to choose from. So what are the biggest challenges? What were the biggest challenges for you when it came to relocating? And I'm just going to go down the line here because you each have something that you can share. Give me one top thing for you. So Betty, tell me yours.
Well, the thing was getting ready to move, because that's a big job, and but Ingrid referred me to some people, and actually my son and granddaughters helped me immensely because I actually got a bid for Packers, and my granddaughters at the time were 15 and 17, and I told my son what I was going to pay the Packers, and he told the girls, and they said, Nana doesn't need to spend that money, we will help her. And so they came and did my packing and unpacking.
That's great. That's
Right.
really great, yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Scott?
I hate to be repetitive or redundant, but yeah, the biggest challenge for me was not knowing what I was moving into. It was under construction, so I had to just take word of mouth and rely on artist renderings as to what it was going to look like, and it was not really challenging, but just kind of concerning. Yeah.
Well, were you, so what size is your apartment right now?
One bedroom.
One bedroom, what's
How many square feet?
7, 8,
About
1,000? 800, what'd you come from?
800 square feet.
Yeah, and how big was the other one?
650.
Oh, you went up.
Oh, okay, see, wow, you
Yeah.
had extra space.
Yeah.
Did you buy extra stuff to put in that
Not
space?
really, but,
Okay, well, good on you. A lot of times people will do that, okay. So really, it was a luxury, you were upgraded, right?
Yeah.
That's great, okay. How about you, Doris?
Okay, I upgraded and I downgraded and I upgraded and I downgraded. The house I'm living in right now is about 1,700 square
Right,
feet. It's two
right.
bedroom, nice big open kitchen, dining room, living room area. And of course, the young lawn's taken care of. I don't have to worry about trimming shrubs or any of that kind of thing, which was real important to me. And security. I think that was more of a problem for my son because that's the only child I have and he lives about 15 minutes from me. But he was wanting to make sure that I felt secure
Yeah.
wherever I went.
Yeah.
So that was my big thing.
So one of the things that Doris is doing that's different from the others that are here is Doris purchased another home, where the other three are renting a home.
Mhm.
But when she moved into her home, even though they look like single-family homes, they're not, no one, but 2 bedrooms, some have 3.
Yeah. I think a
They are
couple.
actually deeded as condos. So it became, for you, expense-wise, like homeowners insurance,
Mhm.
much different than the big house that you lived in, right?
Yes, because the insurance in my case, because everything on the outside is taken care of in our HOA fee, all I'm responsible for is insurance for the contents, for the
Kind of
inside.
like renter's insurance. you
Right,
know.
right.
Yeah, so it's a lot cheaper. I think all of you would agree on that,
Right.
right?
Right.
How about you, Jane? What was your biggest challenge?
Well, I think my biggest challenge was finding the place that really met my needs. And everybody doesn't have the same needs. Now, I've had strokes, and this arm only goes this high. And so many places I saw, all the microwaves were up high. And the little things like that, your mobility and what you're able to reach. And of course, I'm very short. And so nothing on my top shelves has anything on it in my apartment. because I can't reach up there. So just think of your own personal needs that might not be what other people need, but find those little kind of things. Plus, a thing to check is, do you have to take your trash out somewhere far, or can you just put your trash outside your door 3 times a week, like I do it between 8 and 9, and it's gone.
Yeah. which is
Some
really great.
places you have to take your trash down. So all of those little things that might be different for you than other people, kind of make a little list of those things and check on those when you go.
So one of the things that we do with our move management company as well is we have, when we started focusing on older adults, we have surrounded ourselves with service providers that we've vetted. We have handyman contractors. We have several different types of estate liquidators that we work with. We have packers and movers. We're just getting ready to interview another company that is women-owned packers. I kind of like that. But and elder law attorneys that work with us. So it's been really nice for us to have all those services, because our goal, like it is for most professionals, our goal is to make it easy for you and not have you have to worry about, okay, well, I know they can sell my house, but now what else do I need to do? Who's going to help me? Who's going to help me pack? Because in a lot of cases, what most people say, well, I could have my granddaughters help me, but they're so busy. Soccer, swimming, cheerleading. My grandsons are busy. I don't really want to ask my family because they're busy. And I don't want them to feel obligated to help me. So what we try to do is we try to put together in a consultation, what kind of services do you need, so that we can do a game plan and help you know what comes next. And what are we going to do next, so that you can feel like there's a process, and really all we're doing is working together as a team. So just briefly, those of you that I've helped, so Doris, when it comes to professionals that you were able to get access to or work with, who did you use in your process?
Well,
Not who specifically company, but what did you use?
Okay, I used first of all, when I decided I was moving into an apartment, which I could not begin to use everything that I had at an estate sale, you put me in contact with a couple that came and literally made my house like into a store.
Right.
They just took charge and did everything. All they asked me to do was to decide what I wanted and either get it out or put it in a room and say, this is off limits. And the packers, of course, you were able to put me in touch with someone to do the packing and also the moving aspect of it. And let's see, what else?
I think we did a few repairs, but you had your own guy.
Yeah.
You had your own guy for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Jane, what about you?
Oh my goodness, since I did it all by myself, I couldn't have without your help and the people that you gave me. You helped me get any repair thing that I hadn't have done. You helped with that. You helped when the movers, which would be good movers. The best one was the packers.
Yes.
Because
They are so
they
good.
not only, they came to my house first and went with me and let me tell them which things I have that's most special in my life that I was hoping I could still keep. And they went and looked at the apartment I was moving into to estimate what I could do. And then they showed me, well, this furniture would really fit well here, but your couch is probably going to be too big. And they really helped with that. And then they packed every single thing. I didn't have to pack one thing. The movers came the next day, and the very next day, those movers came and unpacked everything, put my pictures
The
up,
packers did.
put my everything up, and took the boxes out, and it was done. Now, there were some things they put that I readjusted to another location later, but I mean, it was wonderful.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's nice to have that, because we've had, what we've kind of noticed over the years, and I just want you to be aware of that, is in the very beginning when we started this, most of our clients would say, you know what, I just want somebody to come pack me, and I will unpack it myself on my own time when I'm ready. And I can tell you, honestly, about 6 months later, go back and visit, and all the boxes are still there. I went to visit somebody not too long ago that chose not to have packers, I had a contract that I needed to have her sign on some things that we were doing with the sale of her house, and I literally went through like this to get to the chair that she had kind of in the corner, just so that we could share that together and sign. So it's important. Remember, you have worked hard for this, so you want to keep those things in mind. You deserve that. What role do you think mindset played in all of this? Scott?
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
Well, were you scared? Were you excited?
I was
Were
very
you
excited.
anxious?
No, very anxious, very excited, yeah.
Yeah?
Because like I said earlier, I watched the whole thing be built. And the pre-leasing office was across the street from where I was living at the time. And I went over there almost every day, drove them crazy. And I get so excited over the, monitoring the construction process that, oh my God, the elevator shafts are up, the elevator shafts. Little things like that mean we were getting that much closer to it being finished and being able to move in. So.
Did you ever have a thought in your mind, if I can't do this, I'm going to back out?
No.
Okay, all right.
No, I was ready for it.
How about you, Betty? Mindset.
Well, no, I think I was ready to do it. And when I first started talking about it, I think my kids were kind of like, well, we think it's too early, but as long as it took to get there, I think they had adjusted to it, so they were no longer discouraging me.
How about you, Jane?
I'm sorry.
Well, I have the personality that believes in looking for positives in everything anyway. And I think life gives you challenges and changes all the time. And you don't have a choice of getting through some of them, but you have a choice of how you get through them.
Yes.
So I think if you decide to make this move, make the best of it, look for the positives and be thankful for the good parts about it, and keep on with things. So that's just I think mindset has a lot of life.
It
How
does.
you get through every day.
It
So,
does. Doris, finish that off for us.
Okay. It was a positive experience for me. I could not wait. I was like him. I spent days every week wandering around through the neighborhoods, watching things as it progressed. And
So to the design center.
Yeah.
More than once.
And something that kind of popped in my mind when she's talking about making a decision as to what to get rid of and what to keep. I found that taking measurements of the rooms and measuring your furniture helps tremendously, and what to keep and what to get rid of, down the road. And so
I think that's, we, over time, we collect things because we can. When our kids move out, we've got empty rooms, so we collect more because we can go put it in there for now. But then the burden becomes, okay, now what? For a lot of people, the thought is, I want to do something, I love that new place over there. They say it's really great, I want to move in there. I'm going to put a deposit down, and then I'm going to come home, and I'm going to look at that and go, oh gosh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I can take that on. I'll just stay here, it's easier. So we need to look at, how does that work? What's that process there? So if there was anything that you could do personally that you would do differently, just briefly tell us, what would that be?
One of the things that I didn't do, because I had been in a house for 45 years, and then when we were military, we just went where the military sent us, that I did not do. I had chosen my floor plan. I had seen all of that. I'd seen a resident that had that floor plan and everything, but I didn't actually see which one was available when that became time. So I didn't realize how long a walk it is from my apartment to get down to where my central activity is. I didn't do the actual walk to there. So somebody else had done that for me to measure things. So I would have done that differently because it's a long walk, but it's a good exercise. And
It is. But I want you, if there's notes that you're making for yourself and you're looking for yourself or you're looking for a loved one, I want you to write that down. Because when Jane mentioned that to me the other day, I thought, gosh, that makes sense. They have apartments all over the buildings, but a lot of times these buildings are big and they have a number of apartments. Is walking or mobilization is important to you, whether it's because you want to get your steps in or it's because it's hard to go a distance. It's important for you to check to see how far will I have to walk to get down to the restaurant or to get to the pool or whatever that is. It makes a big difference, and really it didn't resonate with me until she mentioned it the other day, and we're actually updating our book, adding some new things to it, and that's one of the questions that I'm going to put in there is how far is my apartment from the main event? Keep that in mind. That's real important. Doris, how about you? If you had if anything in retrospect that you would do differently, what would that be?
You know, I really can't think of anything. I'm extremely happy where I am, and I've made the choices that I made. So I really don't have anything negative to say.
Well, I wasn't looking necessarily for negative, but
Yeah.
Okay. Chuck, you're next.
I'm the same as,
Okay,
yeah.
that's a good thing. Betty, anything for you?
No, I mean, I think every senior living community I had ever visited, and I'd known people in them, you always have to do a lot of walking. And so I really didn't consider that to be a problem. I do have to do a lot of walking, but then I figure that's good exercise for me. And if I get where I can't, I'll get a scooter, you know.
Well, for a lot of people, it is the exercise. 'Cause
Right.
if you can walk inside the building and up and down the halls,
Well,
that's what you can do, especially when you can't get outside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, my kids just gave me an iWatch, or I asked for an iWatch for Christmas. But just doing my actual activities, I do between 4,000 and 6,000 steps a day.
For you.
And it's just doing what I'm doing to get around the building or going in and out to do other things.
So we're getting close to where we're going to allow our audience to ask you all questions. But if there was something that you feel like, if someone asked me about my experience, what would I share back to them? Betty, let me have you start with that.
The thing that I would say to people is, because I have friends who are considering and they keep putting it off and putting it off, and you need to do it while you can make the decision for yourself. And I think the people who are happier at Stevenson Oaks are the ones who made the move on themselves. They haven't been moved across country to be close to kids and things like that. And when other people come in and make the decisions for you, you're probably not as happy as if you'd done it for yourself.
Well, Jane, I'm going to actually jump down there to you because you mentioned something to me about that very thing the other day. Of the people that you know, that you currently know that have moved in.
Oh, my goodness. 3 of the ladies I have breakfast with every morning. We become wonderful friends. We love coming down in the morning, having people to talk to, have a nice breakfast. All 3 of the ladies that I had breakfast with had no choice at all of making a move. Their husbands had passed. The kids said, "We promised Dad we were taking care of you. We found a place for you." They didn't have anything to do with making the move, and they're having a hard time with it, even though they're pleased with where they are. It's been very difficult for them.
Not being able to make their own choices.
Not being able to have anything to do
Yeah.
with when they moved or where they moved. So,
Before I go to the other 2, one of the things that I would ask you to do for yourself is while you're thinking about these things and as you're heading home and over the next couple of days, things that you picked up today, I would love for you to sit down with a notepad and make a list for yourself. In the event that something in my life changes or something happens to me that I can't communicate with those people around me, what would I like them to know about my next step? Especially if it entails another move. Where would I like to move? Who do I want to be close to? Do I want to be on the 2nd level or the 1st level? I want to take my dog with me. Here's another important one. How do they get into my email and how do they get onto my Facebook page? They have my passwords? Do they know those things about me? Some people have done that and they've stuck it in a safety deposit box. So the kids know when Mom and Dad need something, it's there. But it doesn't have to be that. You can put it on a piece of paper, put it in an envelope and share with, whether it be your close friend or your loved one, here's some things I want you to know about the next step for me in case I can't tell you. Right? That's really important because people will work really hard to do for you what they think you want, but if you didn't tell them and they do the wrong thing, how do they feel? They feel bad that they didn't do that. And you feel bad that you couldn't communicate it. So you want to write that down. Make that important. Are there any final comments from the four of you that you'd like to share? Doris?
I would like to say that in that vein, I have a book that's called, on the front of it says, "I'm dead now, what?"
I'm dead now
And inside, it goes through everything, your finances, your investments, your passwords to your phone and computer, telephone numbers, everything. And I highly recommend that everyone have that. Because like you say, if they don't know what you want and something happens to you and you can't tell them, then you're stuck.
Yeah.
And you have to do whatever they decide.
Exactly.
So-
That's important. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go ahead and find my new clicker. Do you have it back there? Here, never mind. I got the new one here. Okay, so what we learned today, here's some things that now that we've had a chance to listen to everybody up here, how do you identify yourself with the 5 stages of readiness? How many of you here today are in the denial thinking? That are willing to raise your hand? Okay, John in the back, thank you. How about thinking? You're in the thinking mode. How about you're in the planning mode? Okay. Action. You've already got it set, you're in the action mode. Anybody? Or the resolution. Been there, done that, it's great. Okay? We talked about the biggest fears and biggest concerns. Just a couple of people from the audience. Somebody volunteer. What's one of your biggest fears?
My fear is that I still am responsible for my special needs daughter, who's 48 years old. And from what I'm hearing and even seeing in the community, we live in Grapevine and she's in assisted living in Grapevine, but there's nothing near us. So I don't want to be more than 10 miles away from her.
Right.
So that's my need.
Okay, all right. Who else? Yes.
I'm concerned about not having a garage connected to the living quarters.
Okay. Because you have how many cars? One. Okay. What would you do with that garage? Are you going to be in? Are you in and out every day? Okay. But it's not going to be used for storage, right?
A little bit.
Okay. Okay. Well, a lot of people use that. They want the garage not so much to park in, but for storage.
Well, I'm trying to get rid of all the storage.
Okay. Okay. So a garage not close to living quarters. Anybody relate to that? The importance of that? Okay. All
I
right.
have a garage at
So
my,
do I.
Okay.
yeah.
How many of you have a plan that you've been working on? Okay. Give me just an idea, real quick, one person. What does that look like? What's your plan look like?
Foundation repairs, plumbing repairs.
Okay.
Getting the property ready to put on the market.
Okay.
Because I want that where we decide for sure where we're moving to, that when we make that commitment, the property can go up for sale that same day.
For a lot of people, the most common conversation I have is, I gotta sell my house to do that.
Well, both for us would kind of be happy.
Okay. Repairs on your home. All right, great. Biggest challenges, somebody name one of those for me that hasn't volunteered yet. What would be the biggest challenge for you if you had to make a move?
Well, I want to compliment Stevenson Oaks. We're all looking at independent living, and all of the different places have the assisted living, and Stevenson Oaks was the only one that was interested in showing us that area. You know, they're kind of kept secret, hidden. So I would recommend that as you look at different places, try to get a tour of the other
I think that's
stages.
important because that really is planning ahead. I may not be independent forever, but I don't want to move again. If I do, I want to stay close by, right? And that's something that you may look into as well, because you can be close by right there on that same campus.
And where was that again?
What Stevenson Oaks has to offer. So if you have a daughter that might be in assisted living and you want to be an independent, you can still be close together instead of miles away from each other. That's a thought. Types of help available. This is just let me go back what I said earlier. Senior living today is so different. There are so many things. Builders are piqued with what do our new buyers look want. Senior living communities are cropping up everywhere because we have a lot of people, as they say, the silver tsunami that's coming. So they want to make sure that it's just the right environment, enticing for you. So you want to take a look. But on the other end of that, if you're in your home and you're saying, well, I'm not really looking to do anything like that right now. We had 2 people come and visit with us in our office last week that wanted to offer their businesses. They have a companion service. And so they're willing to come and pick you up and take you to a doctor's appointment, or take you to get your hair or your nails done, or grocery shopping, whatever the case may be. And the only requirement they have is 1 hour of your time. So keeping that in mind, lots of different things that are happening creativity-wise, safety-wise for older adults. And as we talked about earlier, it's all about the mindset. If we can't look at it as an adventure, something new, something that's going to be great for me first and my family, we really need to sit back and look at why is that? What is it about that that's keeping me from having those thoughts or making those plans? So you've got a feedback form that I've asked you to fill out and leave with us at the table when you come, when you go today. Now let's talk about questions. Questions for our panelists here. Who has a question? Beth.
Sorry, I have a question for Doris. Since you moved to a senior housing community, how's the socialization there? Do you guys still get together? Do you have a main clubhouse or?
Yes, we do. We have an activity center and they have all sorts of kinds of card games, pickleball, you name it, and they do it.
Okay.
Just about any kind of activity you might want, they have.
Nice. So you still have your individual homes,
Yes.
but then you have a place to gather.
Exactly.
Y'all can go walking together or?
Right.
Okay.
If you're in a bad mood, your mood doesn't get put off on someone else. You can go in the house, close the door.
Well, the other thing is nice about there are different active 55 housing communities. So just to kind of leapfrog on that, Doris lives in a gated community.
It's standalone.
Standalone home, gated community. The Viridian in Arlington, where we also have our seminars, the backside of the Viridian is called the Elements. That is not a gated community. And then here over by, off of Chisholm Trail is Tavallo Park. And Tavallo is also a Ladera or Epcon product in a gated community. But the mindset that's changing is it's easier if we have our multi-generational families, kids, for example, in the same community as we have the 55 homes. And we also have senior living because everybody can be together versus them over here and we're over there. So those are some of the things that have changed over the years, mindset-wise. Doris has a lot of new houses around her, and then the extension of where she lives is further south in Mansfield, and they are building now in a multi-generational, where there's all age groups living there, but there's a specific area that's 55 and older.
Right.
Okay, who else? Question? Yes?
Seems like the one thing that you haven't mentioned is financial.
Okay.
How much money do you need to go somewhere?
And that's a great
Because
question.
right now, we're retired,
Right.
house is paid for. Why do we want to take on more financial burden, I guess you could say? If you go to an apartment, your money isn't going to last forever. So,
And that's one of the reasons why you would why I would ask you to go and tour the different communities that are available out there. Give you an example, if you're looking for something that has everything there, one stop if you would, I would tell you talk to Carrie at Stevenson Oaks. Because of their product, yes, there's renting that you're doing, but they have more creative ways to work with the monies that you're coming in with. It is different when you are renting, you're right it is, but then for some people that you need to look at how have we planned for the future? What do we have in our kitty, if you will? Whether it's be investments. Doris bought a home using a home equity conversion mortgage. So she took the sale of her home and the monies that she had from that to purchase a new home. In her case, the home equity conversion mortgages are factored on your age. The older you are, the less you pay. For her, she's in a standalone product in a community where there are a lot of people. Remember, she moved from the other one because there were younger people there and she didn't have relationships. But there's a lot of different creative ways for you to do that financially, but it's more of an individual thing to look at. Your financial advisor can help you with that. How much money do you have? How long will it last you? Have you done that?
I am the financial.
Oh, okay, well, okay. Okay, then you know.
A little bit.
So you know exactly what is it that we can, for lack of a better way of saying it, tolerate, and that's the type of, the style of living that you're going to be focused on. Yeah, John?
Yeah, I think most of the community representatives say that's what they're going to go over with you is planning and looking at your assets and what your long-term goals are, because they don't want you to be in a place that you feel pressured under at one point in your life or something like that, so they try to review some of those things with you.
Yes, yeah.
There's also, a lot of communities have like a conversion calculator or something like that that kind of show you, if you move into this place, this is what you would be saving, like, you know, our cable's included, our water's included. Now, if you stay in your home, you fill in that other portion of, okay, I spend this much on electricity, I'm paying taxes, I'm paying homeowners. Yeah, so there's a lot of places will have something like that you could ask for.
And we also have that calculator in the back of our book.
Oh,
Okay. What else? Anybody else? Questions? Comments?
On the financial, I think the biggest jolt for us is the fact there would be a monthly rent that I haven't had mortgage payments since 1995. And that difference of, and having no control. I've had rental property, and you know, people signed a year's lease, and I would even discount if they would do a multi-year lease because I didn't want to mess.
Sure.
Switch it, you know. But with senior living, is this a Texas thing, or is this throughout the nation that there is absolutely no control over what the monthly and how often that monthly amount can be changed on you?
Carrie, do you want to answer that?
There's a couple of different things with that. There are certain places where, you know, I think everybody wants to be responsible to the residents wherever it is, whatever type of place it is, as far as the increases. Typically, you can expect a cost of living increase every year. I think that it would be irresponsible to not say that. And you're right. I mean, there's a lot of fluctuation between what you might find in some places as opposed to others, as far as how much that increase is, especially over the last few years. I would say, you know, that's something that you want to ask. Depending on the type of senior living you're looking at, could vastly impact the answer to that. I think that, you know, trying to keep it equalized is the goal predominantly.
Well, I think of all the places we looked at and the amount of research of what their rates had done in previous, they ran real lucrative rates immediately after the pandemic and as that was changing because they'd had very little changeover or new people coming in. But now that they kind of got everything fixed, then there was like anywhere from an 8 to a 12% jump on residents. And I'm not saying Stevenson Oaks, because I've been very impressed. But when you research that, the people that were there, a 10% increase in the rates of what the month, it makes sense that it's paying for meals and housekeeping.
Right.
There's a lot that goes in it.
Right.
But our income is not, going to jump to the degree to cover that kind of jump.
I wouldn't say it's a Texas thing. I think that it's
Across the board.
It's across the board, and there's several factors that can play into that. So it kind of goes back to talking about finances and what the options are, and how far you're looking ahead that play into that.
Right, I think there's a lot that factors into it versus just a number and the
Yes.
increase. It's the longevity of where you are at that particular location and some of the benefits that come with that. Yeah, John?
Well, if you're living in your own home, I mean, you can plan on your cost of living going up every year from
Right.
utilities, to property taxes, to just
Taxes.
whatever. Services you need, if I need a plumber, it may cost me a lot more next year than it would this year and
Right.
things, so that's,
One of the gentlemen that's in our Bible study group is a roofer. And he owns his company. And he mentioned to us last night that deductibles for us when we need to get our roofs replaced is going to be going up. And the insurance company is going to offer less to do that for you. So that's all of a sudden a new cost that we hadn't really planned on when it comes time to replace a roof. I mean, we have one that's 13 years old, so we're going to be in that area. But not everybody has $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 cash that they could take out of their pocket to get a roof on their home to keep their insurance. So you need to look at those things and make the comparisons. Okay?
But I know that for us, that switch to making a monthly payment of a sizable amount, when we were talking about it the other day, I said, well, I just want to make sure that we still feel absolutely comfortable in going out to eat. I don't want all the norms that, to go by the wayside because we're scrimping pennies when we've never had to do that before.
Well, we have another seminar that's going to be coming up later on in the year that's called Home Care Options, Navigating Home Care Options. And the one thing that's important to keep in mind, just kind of to give you some thoughts there, is you may say, I'm never moving. They're going to take me out of here in a pine box. I'm going to have all the services that I need come in. And after a period of time, having those people come in every day, 24 hours a day or 3 times a week or whatever the case may be, at a guarantee of $35 an hour, and you've got to give them 8 hours that day, after a while that almost becomes more expensive than it is to have all of those services already available to you into your rent. Keeping that in mind.